All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video. This is what I like to call the weekend wrap up, where we talk about entertaining games from this weekend, player performances, other NBA news, injury updates, and all that good stuff. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. We have a fair bit to get to. Not a lot of games to talk about. We have a lot of performances to talk about. We have also the firing of Coach Willie Green from Pelicans, James Borrego being named the interim head coach, right side, right, top right of your screen, middle left, or middle of your screen, I guess, top middle. We have the Utah Jazz and Chicago Bulls going in double overtime. Keontae George hitting a game winner. Lauri Markkanen back-to-back 40-point games, first in franchise history of that kind for the Jazz. We have Steph Curry strangely and I guess suddenly, very suddenly, leaving Under Armour and now is a sneaker free agent. And we'll talk about that a little bit since Steph Curry is my favorite player. We'll spend some good time on that and just some other player performances and stuff like that. But the meat and potatoes of this video is going to be the Willie Green firing for the Pelicans, um, the Steph Curry stuff, and then whatever pops up, whatever else pops into my head. We also have an update on Anthony Davis from Dallas Mavericks. So let's get into all that stuff. First, I want to do some player highlights, some performance highlights from, let's see, when is this? From the 13th all the way up till last night, Sunday. So let's blast through a couple of these. Then we will take a pit stop and talk about, I guess, yeah, the Steph Curry stuff happened first, and then we'll talk about the Willie Green firing. Yeah, I think they happened in that order. And then we'll talk about some other stuff. First things first. Let's talk about the Indiana Pacers versus the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns quietly have been on a roll. They're 8-5 on the season now. They're 6-1 at home. They got the victory in this game, 133 to the Pacers, 98. And the Pacers aren't so quietly having a really bad year that everybody projected them to have. They're 1-11, and the the ship is sinking, but it's sinking in a productive way because they know they're not going to be this bad next year, and they have their first round pick. So there's some positives in this. But the immediate positive for the Phoenix Suns is that Dylan Brooks had 32 this game, Devin Booker had 33, and the team has looked really good thus far. Ever since that Clippers win they got, I believe that was a couple, almost a week ago now, yeah. Almost a week ago now. They've been on a really good roll. Um, and the team looks like it has an identity again. And when I made my turmoil video, the series that I have on this channel, I was curious if they would have an identity this season, and I was very intrigued in if uh, Coach Jordan Ott could make an identity with sort of like the scraps and the remainings of what was supposed to be a championship team. You know, you have guys like Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Royce O'Neal, um, with the other big, not Nick Richards, the other one. He's not on the young guy. I forgot his name, but there's Mark Williams. That's the name I was looking for. Mark Williams. You have the remnants of that group that was supposed to be a championship team with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, and I was wondering how long they would keep this sort of these layovers together, and would they more so lean into the Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Devin Booker era, and sort of ship off some of these other guys. I haven't heard any talk about that so far. I haven't seen anything about that, and they've just been on a roll. So congrats to first year head coach Jordan Ott and Devin Booker quietly returning back to what he used to be before this last, I guess, would have been 5 years. Yeah, last 5 years where he was really contending and really having to be in different roles, and he's the guy on this team, and he looks great doing it. Having a really good year thus far. Um, Moving on to the next game, we're going in order, by the way, from again Sunday or Friday to Sunday, whatever it was. This is the 13th, so a little whiles back, but this is the weekend wrap up. So we're just going through these a little bit. We have the Atlanta Hawks versus the Utah Jazz. This was on the 13th as well. This was probably later in the day or going on at the same time. The Atlanta Hawks got the victory 132 to the Utah Jazz 22. And the Atlanta Hawks also, without Trae Young, have looked really good. And I've sat here a couple times and I've said on other platforms and stuff that I prefer this Atlanta Hawks team without Trae Young. I genuinely do. And throughout this stretch, it's been shown why. I really enjoy this team because it's defensive. They share the ball. Um, Particularly in this game, you had Aneka Kongwu 32 points. You had Jalen Johnson 31 points. Looking at a maybe an All Star appearance, and maybe we'll see. Um, but on the other side, the they Utah Jazz, they've been pretty. What are the Jazz right now? They're 4-8, so they're not winning any awards, but they're putting together some good some high quality games. This is only a 10-point loss, and in the 10-point loss, Laurie Marketing, the big man, had 40 points. Was this one steal, two assists, 7 rebounds, 6 of 12 from three. Took 12 threes, made 6 of them. Damn, um, made 50% of his shots. Really good stuff. Ace Bailey. I haven't seen a lot about Ace Bailey considering how high of a pick he was. People saying he's bad, he's not good. I subscribe to those thoughts. I'm not the biggest Ace Bailey fan, but he had 21 points this game, and I don't think I heard anybody talk about Ace Bailey having 21 points this game. Very quietly having 21. I'm saying that a lot. Very quietly doing X or Y or Z. It's because you don't see this stuff a lot. A lot of these um, NBA pages and even the NBA itself don't post these sort of games. They just kind of like throw them to the wayside and be like, yeah, do something really spectacular. So yeah, Jazz lost to the Hawks that night, and then moving on here, we had the New York Knicks versus the Miami Heat. New York Knicks won this game 140 to the Miami Heat's 132. Um, let's see, you had a Norman Powell 38-point game for the Miami Heat. All the starters in double digits. Jaime Jaquez off the bench 32 or 23. Pardon me, I read that backwards. And then this was a really big game for Cat. Um, Considering that he hasn't had the greatest start to the season, but with Jalen Brunson being out for a little bit now, um, he went out there and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna get close to 40. He had 39 points, 6 of 14 from three, 13 of 26 overall from field goal, 11 rebounds. How many personal fouls does he have? Let's see. Uh, oh, okay. He only had 3 personal fouls. Okay, Cat, look at you. Look at him go. And then let's see, Mikal Bridges 15, Jordan Clarkson 24, Landry Shamit, 36 points off the bench for the Knicks. Damn, Landry Shamit 36. Wow, that's crazy. All right, and then when's this? This is on the 14th. Yeah, next game. This Knicks Heat game was also on the 14th, and then we had the Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks on the 14th as well. The LA Clippers won this game 133 to the Dallas Mavericks 127, and James Harden turning back the clocks. The clock? Turning back the clock. 41 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists. He still got it. He still got it, and it was in a victory as well, which is very good. And let's see, nobody. Bogdan Bogdanovic 21. Okay, Bogey 21. Ivica Zubac 27. Ooh, a lot of these guys ate this game. And then let's see. Oh yeah, this was the Najee Marshall 28-point game. Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 turnovers. I'll take it. It's all right. I mean, it isn't number one pick stuff. You got D'Angelo Russell 28-point game. Of course, you lose when D'Angelo Russell has 28. Common theme throughout his career. And then we move on to this was the game. This was the game? Let me see. Let me hold up here. All right, just had to double check something. So this game, this Warriors versus Spurs game on I believe this is the 14th. Um, well, okay, wait. So the Spurs and the Warriors played 2 times. They played on was this the 12th and the 14th. Um, it was a baseball series, and one of them was an NBA Cup game. On the 12th, the Spurs lost 125 to um, the Warriors had 125. The Spurs had 120. And then the game we're about to talk about, the 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 Golden State Warriors won again 109 to the Spurs 108. But in between those two games, um, Steph Curry, it was announced, or it was reported, yeah, it was reported here from ESPN Shams Charania, Golden State Warriors star Stephen Curry and Under Armour have parted ways, ending their long-standing partnership. Curry's standalone endeavor, Curry brand, will move forward independently. In a follow tweet, Curry shoes through Under Armour will continue as planned through 2026, but he and his company Curry brand are entering the sneaker free agency. And that was the last report we got. And then there was a ton of speculation, especially about the logo because he has the Curry logo now, or I guess yeah, he's had it for a little bit now, um, and people wondering, oh, they're gonna is Under Armour gonna keep the logo? Um, I guess it's called the Splash. I didn't know it was called that. Um, would he keep the logo? Da 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 da. This is a report from BR Kicks on Twitter. Stephen Curry will have full ownership of the signature Splash logo as a part of his agreement to split with Under Armour, sources tell Bleacher Report Kicks. Although the logo remains registered under UA, for now the ownership rights will transfer to Curry. So that was one of the things that got resolved swiftly after that announcement. And the question becomes, what happened? What happened? Because if you're into NBA sneakers and like shoes and stuff like that, um, you would have the inclination or the thought that, didn't I just see like a couple years ago that Steph Curry signed a lifetime deal with Under Armour? And somebody had that thought too, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? It was probably just in name. Like it was probably they probably just said he was a lifetime guy because he thought he would be, and he actually wasn't. And therein being the thing is like, was this the end of the contract, or were they nearing the end of the contract? Um, I don't know. And the Curry brand as a whole is a new sort of thing. It was a spin off of a couple of years ago. I believe it was like 2023, 2022, where they unveiled the new logo and what his logo is now and the brand as a whole. And he has a couple of athletes signed under him, like his brand, like De'Aaron Fox is signed under the Curry brand. A couple other guys are as well. Um, I assume he take Steph Curry and his brand takes those guys with them, maybe, unless Under Armour executes another deal to retain them. Um, but the question then becomes again, what happened? I don't think anything happened. I think this is just the final. This is the, uh, I guess the what's it called, the crescendo, because Steph Curry is ending is nearing. He's closer to the end than he is to the beginning. He's probably closer to the end than the middle of his career. Um, and you start to wonder, or I start to wonder, is this a move to, one, move away from Under Armour, because Under Armour, the CEO of Under Armour, or the owner, I should say, either or, does not align politically with a lot of the athletes they have underneath their umbrella, um, and that could play a part in this. It could be a move to, again, or try to do his own thing and move more into the golfing space, move more into the clothing space, because Under Armour has never been the best with clothing. They've never been the best with shoes either. Um, and this is probably a play for Steph to, one, own everything, own his own name, obviously own his own name, own everything that comes out of this venture of his, but also move into the other half of his career after playing and have a brand that's sustainable, that's outside of basketball and outside of performance, so to speak, and just be like a brand of, like, it'll probably be somewhat athletic wear, maybe athleisure wear, but be more, I don't want to say accessible, but be a name unto itself. It's not Under Armour slash Curry brand, it's just Curry brand. And I think that's a wrinkle. I think him probably not being on the market that long, I would assume possibly by All-Star Weekend, which is in February, that he will have signed another deal. That they're working on deals right now. A lot of people are saying go back to Nike. He was a Nike athlete many, almost a decade, more than a decade ago at this point. Yeah, more than a decade ago. Um, and people are saying he should go back. Um, I, I don't know how I feel about that personally. I think I think Nike is strange. Nike is a strange brand, especially these days because they they, they are very intentional with everything that they do, and they literally have a full roster right now. I'm not saying that they wouldn't make room for him if Steph was like, I just want to go to Nike, I'm going to Nike. He walks in the building or they go on a conference call, he's like, I'm going to come here, make room for me. They would take him gladly, just as another thing to the umbrella of Nike that's bigger than ever now. Um, but they have LeBron, have um, Kevin Durant, they have Asia Wilson, they have Caitlin Clark, they have Paige Beckers. I'm just thinking about all the athletes for basketball. Um, they have well, if you count Jordan with Nike, I don't personally count Jordan with Nike. Jordan's its own separate entity at this point. Um, but Nike has a lot of pots on the boil and a lot of people that deserve shoes. They just announced Cade Cunningham's getting his own shoe, his own signature shoe. That was something that I saw this morning. Piston star Cade Cunningham, he's getting his own thing. Um, there's a lot of people that have been waiting in line, so to speak, to get their own shoe, to get their own resources, to get their own brand. Obviously, Caitlin Clark, one of the bigger stars on the younger side, on the way younger side, going to be playing for much longer. Deserves, I want to say deserves a shoe before Steph Curry if he does go to Nike, but has been in line, has been waiting for it. And Paige Beckers will have to wait after Caitlin Clark and all this stuff. And Nike's very intentional and they wait a long time. And sometimes they make you wait so long for somebody to get a signature shoe and then they put it out and it's absolute trash. The shoe is just terrible. The shoe is literally just bad. And you wonder, like, you spent how many years developing the shoe and it came out this bad? Like, come on. And that's the other knock on Under Armour is that, like, Under Armour notoriously made Steph Curry's shoes terrible. There's only a couple that I remember that I personally really liked, and then more recently, like they've turned into like boat shoes, and they just don't look good. And bottom left, you can see Steph Curry rocking some Kobe's right there, some Nike Kobe's right there, and does look good in them. um, I think another player to watch. I don't think he's gonna go. I don't think he's gonna go like Anta or like Converse or like Puma. That'd be very weird if he went to Puma. I don't think he's going to any of those like B tier brands, so to speak, in the shoe game. Um, I think somebody to really watch out for is Adidas, and I think Adidas has really made a push over the last couple years. They have Anthony Edwards. They have a couple other guys. Obviously, they've had James Harden forever. They've had Damian Lillard forever. Um, I personally kind of like James Harden shoes. I've never liked the Damian Lillard shoes, but um, James Harden has some good shoes. Anthony Edwards he's had three shoes already. Um, Two of them have been hits, one of them have been misses. One of them has been a miss. But I think Adidas is somebody to watch for. I would be interested to see Steph Curry some Adidas. Um, but yeah, that was just sort of shocking news that happened on the 13th, I believe it was. Yeah, on the 13th, and um, you wonder if it's just a parting of ways. Like I said, the inclination that this is going to be Steph Curry's one of the bigger parts of his after career thing is to just have his brand and move into other athleisure, sportswear, golf. He's a big golfer, sort of that line of thinking. Um, I think that's a big part of it. And Under Armour has been slacking. Under Armour, they have some athletes underneath their name, but they don't do the only one they had that is in my mind that's recognizable was Steph. And his commercials were very sparse in between, and maybe that was a point of contention as well that they didn't do a good job marketing him. Um, I think at certain points you could argue they did a really good job because they would send him to China, they send him to Japan, and he would do the world tour, and they had a lot of fun doing that. There were a lot of good moments that came out of those, but do those good moments and those viral clips transfer into sales of shoes? I don't have that information in front of me, so I don't know. But I think it's a very strange thing, and we'll learn more as the year goes on, as this year closes and we head into 26, and maybe the middle of 26 we'll figure out what really happened. But it's a strange thing, and you don't see people abruptly leave like this. At least not like big names. You know, what I mean, like Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks just left Adidas for Jordan Brand. He's a Jordan Brand athlete now. You know, you have people that get out of shoe deals and like I'm gonna make my own shoe, and then like you have like Jaylen Brown's crappy ass shoe that nobody buys, and he's the only one who wears it. You know, you have Kyrie who tried to do his own thing, but eventually turned to Anta, and Anta picked him up. You know, there is that space, and the biggest thing for Curry is that if him and his team get it right and they sign with the right shoe company, the kids love Steph Curry even to this day. Um, they'll buy his shoe. They'll buy his shoe. So that's the biggest thing is you have to hit that market as well. But moving back onto the games here, um, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all the thoughts I had on it. We'll see what happens. After this announcement, um, and between Steph Curry's two 40-point games, um, yeah, 240 was it? Yeah, yeah. Let me make sure. Let me make sure I'm not talking out of my neck here. Game logs. Yeah, between Steph Curry's two 40-point games, he had 46 in the game on the 12th, and then he had 49 in the game um, after the announcement, still against the Spurs, um, and leaving Under Armour. He went absolutely crazy. I believe he joins Michael Jordan as the only player 37 to have back to back 45 plus point games, which is a crazy stat. Um, not in let me see. Not to mention Jimmy Butler 21, Will Richard 10 in a starting role. I think this is Will Richard's first start. Um, I, I told you guys Will Richard. I like Will Richard a lot. I told you guys in the beginning of the season for the Warriors he looked good, and he finally got a start. I'm not sure if this is his first or his second. He might be his second. I don't know. Looked pretty good. Then for the um, for the let me see. For the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama, 26 points, 12 rebounds. And you have De'Aaron Fox, who's been back a couple games, 24 points, 10 assists. Really good stuff there. You had Julian Champagnie, 14 off the bench. Um, the Spurs have sort of slowed down. They're at a 8-4 right now for the season. The Warriors are 8-6, and we'll see. These two teams are going to be interesting to watch. They're going to be interesting to see how they figure out the season because one's obviously very young, one's obviously very old, and we're gonna see how they play the season out. What games they can sneak out of. What game the Warriors snuck out of San Antonio with two back-to-back wins, which was incredible. Um, we'll see what else they can muster up. We'll see what else they can do. You know, and these two teams are gonna be like fighting between like the 3 and the 5 sort of range, and we'll see who comes out on top. It's gonna be very interesting. Um, Moving back on to these performances that we had the Lakers in Milwaukee. The Lakers won this game 119 to the Milwaukee Bucks 95. Giannis did play this game. He was out the last game I think I covered or I talked about, so he's back. Um, you had Luka Doncic 41 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Not great splits, but they got the win. Um, DeAndre and Laker fans have been loving DeAndre in the last couple weeks. 20 points, 10 rebounds. Great stuff for DeAndre and I said I'm a DeAndre Ayton hater. Not hater. I've fallen out of love with DeAndre Ayton, and I'm not saying he's gonna pull me back in because I don't think he'll ever be able to pull me back in. But I'm happy to see that DeAndre Ayton has found a role that he's comfortable in. That he's not asked to do too much. He's not asked to do too little. The Lakers obviously waiting for LeBron James to come back. He's had consecutive practices with the Lakers G League team. He's looked really good there, but no setbacks, so he's going to be back soon. The other James, Bronny James, got the start in this game. 0 points, from two, 0 of 2 from three, um, 1 assist, 1 rebound. That's all I have to say. I'm not gonna make fun of him. And then you had, I believe it was Abdul Firo had his first NBA points this game, and the Lakers were trying to get the game ball. The staff wouldn't give it to him, and then in a nice gesture, Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo simply came over, took the ball, and gave it to the Lakers, and it was a nice moment at the end of the game. That was the only other thing that I saw about this game. Um, Moving back over to the Clippers, James Harden turning back the clocks once again in a loss, however, to the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics won this game 121 to the Clippers 118. James Harden 37 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. Turning back the clocks, but was not enough. And the Boston Celtics sneak out with a win. They move to 500 on the season, 7-7 on the season, behind a Jaylen Brown 30-point game, a Peyton Pritchard 30-point game where he got crossed over by James Harden. That was a great highlight. Derek White, 22, finally finding his stride a little bit. 4 of 8 from three, 7 of 17 overall. And then the Boston Celtics are they're hanging around. They're hanging around enough not to tank yet. We'll see if they do tank soon. Um, and then we move over to the the um, the New Orleans Pelicans, versus the Warriors. The Warriors won this game, 24 points. Steph Curry did not continue the trend of 40-point games. He only had a single-digit point game this game, but Jimmy Butler, Moses Moody went nuclear this game. 32 points. Saved the day, saved the night. Um, Also, Bennett Podzimski, 19. And then this is the first game for the New Orleans Pelicans, with new interim head coach James Borrego, and the first game without the freshly fired Willie Green, who players, who fans grew to not like. And I had said at the beginning of the season, I had read a very interesting stat that Willie Green had never had a losing season when all his players were healthy. He was at least above 500, or at least 10 games above 500, I believe the number was. And that's probably where it will remain. The New Orleans Pelicans were two and 10 when Willie Green got fired. It was announced by Shams Charania um, earlier that day. Yeah, earlier, I guess the day before that. I don't. Let me see. I can find it for you. Yeah, 2 days ago. This was on the 15th. Yeah, and this game was played on the. When was this game played? The 16th. Yeah, so James Borrego had a full day. The Pelicans had a full day to adjust to life without Willie Green. And I saw a lot of funny tweets. It was like, "What if the Pelicans win this game?" And I was like, it could be possible. And then obviously you have the Moses Moody going nuclear game. Um, I do want to talk about Willie Green, and I have his numbers here as a coach. He was an ex-player. I looked up Willie Green, and it gave me his player stats. I was like, no, I don't want his player stats. I want his coaching stats. Um, Willie Green got his start in coaching in 2018-2019 as a Warriors assistant and develop player development coach. I did not know he was on the Warriors staff. Maybe I might have saw him, but I never knew. I knew he was on the Phoenix staff. He was on the Phoenix staff from 2019 to 2021, as an assistant coach. I remember him there. And then he had a he started coaching as a head coach in 2021, 2022. And again, these are the numbers I was looking at the beginning of the season. I was like, oh, he's gonna have a good year. They're gonna be okay. Um, in his first year, he was 36 and 46, and then his next year he was 42 and 40. He was 42 and 40, and then the following year, 2023, 2024, he was 49 and 33, and then last year he was 21 and 61. This was the year nobody was healthy. And they traded Brandon Ingram, so this is a lost year. I don't think this is a judging on how good of a coach he is. And then this year, I think, was a judge of how good of a coach he was, and he was 2 and 10 this year. With Zion being relatively healthy, having Jordan Poole, having Dejounte Murray waiting to come back, um, many fans were upset that Derek Queen did not, their draft pick from this year that they traded for during draft night, did not get any looks, any real looks, any real minutes. And then the first game, Willie Green's gone. Derek Queen gets the start under James Borrego, and fans are like, "See, he's doing the thing, he's doing it." um, what do I think about Willie Green? I don't have, I don't have a real pulse on Willie Green because the Pelicans, they were never really healthy, and I think these 2 years where they were 42-40 and they were 49-33 are the real indication of how good of a coach he was. And I don't, I think anybody who's had this Pelicans job, like if we go look at the Pelicans as a team, right? Um, let me see. Hold on. Pel Pelicans, yeah, New Orleans Pelicans, yeah. Um, anybody who's had this job, right? My God, stop with the ads, please. Anybody who's had this job, right? Uh, going backwards here, Willie Green was the coach for was this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year, 5 and a quarter, 4 and a quarter, right? Uh, did not do a good job, right? Stan Van Gundy, 1 year did a terrible job, probably a bit past his time, right? Alvin Gentry, who was hit or miss many years, was there during the Anthony Davis years. Monty Williams, who was there during the Anthony Davis years, the young Anthony Davis years, um, when they were first became the Pelicans, um, hit or miss years, um, dating back to when they were the New Orleans Hornets, when they had Byron Scott and Chris Paul was there. Um, hit or miss years. I mean, there were a lot more hits here. This was probably the golden years, right? They were 56-26. That was the most winning season of their inception under Byron Scott with Chris Paul. Byron Scott as the coach, Chris Paul as the star player. This was back in when was this? This is back in 2007, 2008. This is almost a decade ago now, and 2 decades ago. Pardon me. And they have never reached these heights again. But the main players in this have been the owners. And whether it was Gail Benson, who it is now, or her husband, her late husband, this team has been lost. This team has sucked. They do not care about the team. There's no promotional material for this team. The season ticket holders are disappointed in their stuff that they've been getting. Um, it's a shit show right now. And I think anybody put in the situation that Willie Green was put in would have done the exact same thing. Now, if James Borrego goes around and turns around this season, maybe they get to 500, maybe just below 500. They're gonna be like, "Oh, look, James Borrego's the guy. You gotta keep him. You gotta keep him hired. Just make him the head coach permanently. At least for however long it is. It's gonna be the same fate. I'm gonna sit here and say it's gonna be the same fate. He's gonna suffer the same fate. And to be quite frank, I do like James Borrego more than I like Willie Green. James Borrego has coached the Charlotte Hornets in a past life, and he did an okay job. But he suffered the same fate Willie Green did in this Pelican situation. Just didn't he just lost the players a little bit, and the coaching staff thought, oh, not the coaching staff, the ownership and Charlotte thought they need a new voice, and James Borrego became an assistant coach under Willie Green, and then Willie Green gets kicked out the door. Now he's a head coach again, or at least an interim head coach. And you come to wonder, maybe James Borrego is equipped enough to deal with the BS that Willie Green wasn't equipped with. And I think the other thing you have to be careful of is um, GM Joe Dumars, who Joe Dumars was appointed the GM this year, and Willie Green was not his guy, and James Borrego isn't really his guy either. But maybe Joe Dumars can sink his teeth into James Borrego and be like, now you owe me. If I hire you as the head coach, you owe me. You have to answer to me, sort of deal. Versus Willie Green, who was from the older regime. Um, we'll see. I do not expect him to turn it around, but I do like James Borrego a bit more as a head coach than Willie Green. Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about here. Oh, actually, second to last thing because I just got a report in a couple hours ago that I want to read here. Um, I want to just talk about this throwback game. Throwing it back to like the 90s type of vibe. The Chicago Bulls versus the Utah Jazz. 150 win for the Utah Jazz to the Chicago Bulls 147. Keontae George, bottom right of your screen, game winner to end this game, double overtime game. Um, Crazy game. Um, Felt like the 90s all over again. Bulls versus Jazz. Lloyd Marketing 47, Keontae George 33, Ace Bailey 5, Yusef Nurkic 5, Steve Mikhailuk 10, Kevin Love 10, Kevin Love appearance. Shout out Kevin Love. Bryce Sensabaugh 16, Isaiah Collier 16 as well. Um, the Bulls got 21 from Nikola Vucevic, 26 from Josh Giddey, 18 from the sophomore player Montes Buzelis, Julian Phillips, 10 points. Kobe White return game, 27 points. Ayo Dosunmu, 18 points. Crazy game. I did not get the chance to watch the highlights for this game all the way through. I did watch them on Instagram and Twitter, just going through the stuff. Man, oh man, what a crazy game. It definitely looked like a throwback game, and it was a throwback game. The Bulls were wearing the pinstripes. The Jazz were back in their um, purple and I guess blue, and it looked like a throwback game too. It was crazy. Um, Amazing stuff. The NBA will just treat you to stuff like this on a random Sunday where like you think nobody's watching this game. It's a double overtime game, and the Jazz win to move to 5-8 on the season, and the Bulls are 500, 6-6 on the season. And the truly last thing I want to talk about here um, is that Podcast P, Way Off P, Paul George, PG, oh, not PG-13, 8 Ball Paul, yeah, 8 Ball Paul, um, forward for the Sixers, making his return at home tonight against his former team, the Los Angeles Clippers. George has rehabilitated off-season knee surgery. Finally, a month later to the start of the season, Paul George returns. And my biggest thing about Paul George returning is Paul George either going to show out and be like, okay, I'm here to accept a role, I'm gonna play the veteran role, or is he gonna try to turn back the clock and try to do everything that he tried to do last year and look just as bad? I'm very interested in the storyline. I'm very interested to see how the Sixers respond because the Sixers have been pretty good this year. I mean, we can look at the standings here. Um, they're number 6 right now in the Eastern Conference. They're 7-5. Um, let's see, they've just lost one the other night. Um, but they're probably the best of the worst teams in the East. I mean, like the Raptors are above them, the Hawks are above them. Those two teams have been floating around here on a good streak. Um, Obviously, you have the top 3 teams: Cleveland, New York, and then the Pistons. Quietly, again, there's the word quietly, leading the Eastern Conference 11-2 on the season. So we'll see if Paul George tries to help this Sixers ship float, or will he sink it once again like he did last year? Only time will tell. That is it. That is the weekend wrap up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.